Good morning, children. Sairam. Children, in the previous parts of this chapter, electrochemistry, you all have learned about the working of an electrochemical cell. And today we'll be starting with the relationship between the electrode potential of an electrochemical cell and the Gibbs energy. In the previous videos, you all have learned what is an electrochemical cell, how it works, and how we can calculate the voltage which is generated by an electrochemical cell. I have given you the formula to calculate the voltage or the EMF, which is equal to E naught of cathode minus the E naught of anode. That is the standard electrode potential of cathode minus the standard electrode potential of anode. Now, after that, I have told you, if suppose the cell is not there in the standard condition, that means the electrolyte in which the electrodes are dipped, if they are not of 1 m concentration, in that case, you have to use the Nernst equation. Nernst equation also we have discussed. I have given you a few numericals in the previous session, in the previous part of this chapter. I hope you all are doing the numericals in your notebook. Now next we are starting with the electrochemical cell and Gibbs energy. You all have learnt about Gibbs energy already in 11th standard. That is called the Gibbs free energy change, which is actually equal to the amount of work done. Now today we are studying the relationship between electrochemical cells, the EMF of the electrochemical cell and the Gibbs energy. You all know that in an electrochemical cell, the system does works by transferring electrical energy through an electrical circuit. That means work is being done. How the work is done? Electrical work is done by transferring the electrical energy in the electrical circuit. Now, the electrical work done in 1 second is equal to the electrical potential multiplied by the total charge passed. So, what is the electrical work done? How will we calculate the value of Gibbs energy change in case of an electrochemical cell? It is equal to work done, and here the work done in 1 second is equal to the electrical potential multiplied by the total charge passed. Now, we denote the Gibbs energy change as it is a change. So, what will we write? We'll introduce one delta here. Delta G is equals to minus NF E naught of cell. E naught of cell. That is the Gibbs energy change is equals to minus NF E naught of cell. What is E naught of cell here? E naught of cell is the electrical potential difference which is set up between the two electrodes. That is your E naught value, the standard electrode potential, cell potential we are taking, and N is the number of moles of electrons exchanged during the oxidation reduction reaction that is taking place in the electrochemical cell. F is the Faraday's constant. I have told you about the Faraday's constant, that it is equal to the charge of 1 mole of electron. So, how can we calculate the electrical work done? That is G is equals to minus NF E naught of cell. Now children, we can also calculate delta G by using the equation delta G is equals to minus RT ln K. That is by making use of the equilibrium constant K. Now you have to remember that if we convert this into log, we have to multiply by 2.303. And K is the equilibrium constant. At equilibrium is established. That means the cell is not working. The cell is not in the working condition. So, in that case, the value of EMF will be equal to 0. Now, children, suppose we are having a question, calculate the maximum work that can be obtained from a Daniell cell. We have a combination of Daniell cell here in which we have zinc and copper electrodes. Here zinc will get oxidized from Zn, it will convert to Zn2 positive, and copper will get reduced from Cu2 positive, it will get converted to Cu. You've got the value of E naught for Zn2 positive slash Zn, that is the electrode potential of the zinc electrode is given to you, and the electrode potential of copper electrode is also given to you. It is equal to 0.34 volts. Children, use the formula and calculate. I hope you'll be able to do this. You're already knowing which formula to be used. See, the same formula we have to use delta G. Electrical work done only we have to calculate. We have to use the formula delta G is equals to minus NF E naught of cell. The first thing you have to do to solve this numerical is to calculate the value of E naught of cell. E naught of cell is equals to what? In the previous section we have already done this. It is equal to E naught of cathode minus the E naught of anode. Which is cathode here? Copper. So, subtract zinc from copper, that is cathode minus anode. You will subtract the two. Whatever you get, you have to multiply it with N and F. N is the number of moles of electrons exchanged. Number of moles of electron exchange here in this case are 2, and the value of F is 96500. Children, I hope you all are writing whatever I am explaining. If you will not write, you will not be able to understand. So, E naught you have calculated, the value of E naught of cell you have calculated. E naught is equals to E naught is equals to E cathode minus E anode. Cathode is copper, anode is zinc. So, subtract the two, calculate the value of E naught of cell, then multiplied by N and F. And the value of N in this question will be 2, and the value of F in the same question will be 96500. Children, you have to remember we are taking a negative sign here. The significance of the negative sign is that the work is done on the surrounding, as the charge is going out of the cell traveling through the external circuit. So, we are taking it as negative, the negative work done. So, delta G is equals to minus 2 into 96500 into E naught of cell. Hope you all must have got the answer now. Now, children, the next thing today I am starting with the next type of cell again is the electrolytic cell, and we'll study about the electrolysis. Children, I hope you all are able to understand the relationship between the Gibbs energy change and the E naught of cell. It is a short thing, so I have explained with the help of one numerical. Now, you can do more numericals for practice. I'll give you more questions today in the form of PDF. So, do solve those questions. Children, now next we are starting with the electrolytic cell and electrolysis. In the beginning of the chapter, I have told you that in the chapter we'll be studying about the two types of cell. The first one was the electrochemical cell, in which spontaneous chemical reaction was taking place and was resulting in the formation of electrical energy. Now, this cell which we are going to study now is just the reverse of that. That is the electrolytic cell. In electrolytic cell, we have one battery, that is the external source of energy connected to the cell, and you can say make such a reaction to occur which cannot occur on its own. That is, a non-spontaneous chemical reaction will take place with the help of external source of energy, as is in case of recharging of the mobile battery. That is, when we connect the mobile battery to the electrical switch, then electrical energy is supplied and the non-spontaneous chemical reaction takes place. Now children, the example that I have been taking here today is suppose your NaCl solution, not NaCl, copper sulfate solution. Two copper electrodes are dipped in the same container. Children, you have to remember that the difference between the electrochemical and the electrolytic cell, one more difference I am telling you, is that in case of electrochemical cell, we have got two different containers. But here, in case of electrolytic cell, we have got only one container in which both the electrodes are dipped. Like for example, we have dipped the two copper electrodes in the same solution. Now, the left hand side one is the anode and the right hand side one is the cathode. You have to remember always whether it is an electrochemical cell or it is an electrolytic cell. In case of anode, always oxidation takes place. In case of cathode, always reduction takes place. But here, another difference between anode and cathode of electrochemical and electrolytic cell is that in case of electrolytic cell, you all can see the anode is connected to the positive terminal of the batteries. Look at the diagram. The anode is connected to the positive terminal of the battery and the cathode is connected to the negative terminal of the battery. So the charge of anode here is positive and cathode here is negative, which is just the reverse of the electrochemical cell. Oxidation will take place at anode, but the anode was negatively charged in case of electrochemical cell and is positively charged in case of electrolytic cell. Children, see, two copper electrodes are dipped in copper sulfate solution. When electrical charge is passed through the external source, that is from the battery, then as the cathode is connected to negative terminal and anode is connected to positive terminal. So what will happen? From the solution of the electrolyte, the negatively charged ions will move towards the anode, which is positively charged, and the negatively charged ions will move towards the cathode, which is negatively charged. So here negative charge move towards anode, positive charge move towards the cathode. Now see the reaction which is actually taking place in case of copper. At cathode was, you can see, cathode was negatively charged. Cathode is negatively charged. So at cathode, Cu2 positive converts to Cu. How it converts to Cu? By accepting the electrons which are coming from the battery. You will write it as Cu2 positive plus 2 electrons will give Cu. And at anode, what is happening? Anode, Cu is getting dissolved. The anode, which is the electrode, it gets dissolved in the solution and converts to Cu2 positive plus 2 electrons. Children, many other substances are electrolyzed. Like for example, you can take example of water. Water, when electricity is passed through water, it breaks down to give what? Oxygen and hydrogen. Similarly, when electricity is passed through brine solution, you have studied in standard 10, it is the aqueous solution of sodium chloride. From this, if electricity is passed, then at one of the electrode, sodium gets deposited at cathode and the chlorine gas is evolved at the other electrode. Now children, using this electrochemical cell, we have to electrolytic cell, we have to study some of the important laws which guide the process of electro. So we'll study the Faraday's law of electrolysis. Now he has given two laws for governing the process of electrolysis. The first one is the amount of any substance deposited or liberated at any electrode is directly proportional to the quantity of electricity passed through the electrolytic solution. Children, when I was explaining you the electrolytic cell, see this cell, I have told you here anode will get dissolved and cathode will become thick. That means more amount of copper will deposit on the cathode. Now this method, it can be utilized for the refining of many of the metals. In standard 10th, you have learned about electrolytic refining of copper. In electrolytic refining, we have taken molten copper and this anode is impure copper. When electricity is passed, then from the impure copper, the impurities get dissolved in the solution and the pure copper deposits at cathode. So cathode become very thick, anode become very thin. So this can be used for this electrolytic refining of many other metals also. Apart from this copper. Now children, coming to the Faraday's law. In Faraday's law, what was stated? That the quantity of any substance deposited or liberated at any of the electrode, as in case of this, copper was deposited at cathode. Now the quantity of copper deposited depends upon the quantity of charge passed in the electrolytic solution through the battery. This is your first law of electrolysis. Here, according to the first law of electrolysis, W, that is the weight of substance deposited, is directly proportional. I am making the sign of directly proportional. Yes, this is W is directly proportional to Q. Q is the quantity of charge passed and W is the weight of substance deposited. This is according to the first law of thermodynamics, that the quantity of substance deposited is directly proportional to the quantity of charge passed. Now, removing the sign of proportionality, a constant comes, that is Z. And it becomes W is equal to Z into Q. Now Q, you all know, charge. Q is equals to I into T. In the formula for current, you all have learned this. Q is equals to I, where I stands for current and T stands for the quantity of time for which the given current is passed. So we get the equation W is equals to Z into I into T. Hope you have understood the first law of electrolysis. Now continuing with the second law of electrolysis. Actually both the laws are related to the same thing, so it will become more clear. Now see, there in the first law we were talking in terms of weight of substance deposited. Now we'll be talking in second law in terms of moles of substance deposited. Moles. Now see, then moles of substance deposited or liberated at any electrode in an electrolytic cell is proportional to the number of moles of electrons exchanged during the oxidation reduction reaction that occurs. That means in the first law we were talking in terms of weight of substance and quantity of charge. Now we are talking in terms of moles of substance, and in terms of this quantity of charge we are talking in terms of moles of electrons. Clear? Now see, an example is there. When electricity is passed through molten NaCl solution, then what happens? NaCl, it breaks down and gives Na plus Cl2, half Cl2. See, actually what happens at cathode, an electrolytic cell is there. Just imagine an electrolytic cell is there, NaCl solution is there inside, two electrodes are dipped, a battery is connected, the battery supplies the voltage, the anode becomes positively charged, cathode becomes negatively charged. So what happens? From the solution, the Na positive ion come towards the cathode, they accept the electron coming from the battery and convert into Na. That means sodium will be deposited at the cathode. And at anode what happens? Chlorine liberates 2 electrons and converts into Cl2. 2 moles of chlorine liberates 2 moles of electron and convert into Cl2, and Cl2 being a gas cannot be deposited, it liberates. Now children, we know that the charge of 1 electron is 1.602 into 10 raised to power minus 19 coulombs. So the charge of 1 mole of electrons will be equal to, multiplying this with the Avogadro's number, that is 1.602 into 10 raised to power minus 19 is multiplied by 6.022 into 10 raised to power 23, and we get the charge of 1 mole of electron, that is equal to 96500 coulombs. So this is your charge of 1 mole of electron. Now coming back to the Avogadro's law, charge of 1 mole of electron, you all can see here, to deposit 1 mole of sodium, how many electrons are required? 1 mole of electron are required. So 1 mole of electron has a charge of 96500 coulomb. That means to deposit this 23 gram of sodium, this 1 mole of sodium, how much charge is required in terms of Faraday? 1 Faraday, or you can say 96500 coulombs of charge. That is the charge of 1 mole electron. So similarly, in order to liberate 1 mole of chlorine gas, how many electrons are required? 2 moles of electrons are required, and the charge of 2 moles of electrons will be 2 into 96500 coulombs. So if in your board exam also such questions will come, that how much charge is required to deposit this quantity of this substance. Like for example, in case of this, you have to check for 23 gram of sodium, how much charge is required? 96500 coulomb of charge is required. Now, if suppose instead of 23, it is given 46. For 46 gram of sodium, to deposit 46 gram of sodium, how much charge will be required? Twice of that. That is 2 into 96500. And for depositing 11.5 grams of sodium, half of this, that is 96500 divided by 2. So now we'll do one question for your practice. Just listen to the question carefully. Do note it down in your fair notebook also. And whatever is shown here in the form of slides, all these are your important notes. Do note down all these notes. Now children, look at the question carefully. A solution of copper sulfate is electrolyzed for 10 minutes with a current of 1.5 amperes. What is the mass of copper deposited at cathode? So here you have to use both the laws, the first law as well as the second law of Faraday's. How? See, a solution of copper sulfate is electrolyzed for 10 minutes with a current of 1.5 amperes. Here it is given, the charge is not given. How much charge we are passing to the solution of copper sulfate is not given. What is given here is time and current. With the help of current and time, you will find out the value of charge. You all know Q is equals to I into T. Here this is your I and this is your T. Remember, you have to take time in terms of seconds, okay? Then only it will become equal to coulombs. So Q is equals to IT, you'll do, and you'll find out the charge. Then what you have to find out is What is the mass of, it is written SI, it is IS. What is the mass of copper deposited at cathode? You have to find out how much copper will be deposited. For finding out the quantity of copper deposited, first of all you have to write down the chemical equation that is taking place. Now first of all, let us solve the first part of the question. You all know that Q is equals to IT. The value of Q is also given in the question and T is also given in the question. T is given in minutes. We have converted to seconds. So multiplying 1.5 amperes with 600 seconds, we get the answer. The charge is 900 ampere second. Ampere second can be written as coulombs. We have written it as C. Now we have got the quantity of charge which is passed. Now we have to calculate how much copper will be deposited. That is the second part of the question. Now see, copper is deposited as, see the equation carefully. Cu2 positive is the form of copper which is present as copper sulfate. It breaks down to give Cu2 positive plus SO4 2 negative. So we are using Cu2 positive. Now 2 electrons are less than the solid form. So how many electrons will be added? 2 electrons will be added and we'll get Cu. Now, so for depositing 1 mole of copper, how much charge is required? 2 moles of electrons, or 2 into 96500 charge is required to deposit 1 mole of copper. What is the weight of 1 mole of copper? It is equal to the gram atomic mass, that is 63.56 gram. Now children, 2 moles of electron, that is 2 into 96500 coulombs will give 63.56 gram of copper. So 900 coulombs will give how much? 63.56 divided by 2 into 96500 multiplied by 900. So it is equal to 0.296 gram. So 900 coulomb of charge will give 0.296 gram of copper. Now children, I hope you all are able to understand this numerical. Such numericals will come in your board exam. I am giving some questions in the form of PDF along with this presentation. Do solve all the numericals. Do write down all the points that we have discussed today in your fair notebook. Whatever is written in the slides, you have to note down as your notes. And do write these numericals also along with the solution. And a worksheet will be attached with this presentation. Do solve the worksheet also. With the help of worksheet, you will get the practice for the multiple choice question, and you'll be having 20 marks of multiple choice question in the board exam as well. So do practice these questions. Thank you. Sai Ram. Have a nice day.